One of the most common but worst ways to develop agility in athletes is by using agility ladders. Let me get into it. Now, I'll be the first to start off by saying that, yeah, inside this gym, we actually do have agility ladders and we do use them. However, it's context for everything, right? So when we use agility ladders, it might be for our youth athletes, maybe building a little bit of coordination, maybe getting them a little bit warmed up. And with our more elite level professional athletes, we might use that tool or resource to be able to develop the lower limb if we're doing some kind of single leg or pogos throughout the ladder. However, what most coaches and athletes use agility ladders for is to develop agility, and it's just not the optimal way to do it. What you should do instead is have a full-on progression to be able to take an athlete from the least complex ability to change directions to then the most complex, where we're actually adding a reactionary component or an external stimulus, meaning the athlete is reacting off either a cue or some kind of motion where they then have to change that direction. This is gonna be far more beneficial than them learning how to do an icky shuffle through a ladder, where essentially they're just moving and getting better at the icky shuffle. So going back on what I would rather do is I'd rather focus on very basic fundamental movements to be able to change directions. Things like lateral movements and linear stop and go movements, where the athlete has to rapidly decelerate and accelerate in multiple directions. These can come in the form of very basic 90-degree cuts, 45-degree cuts, 180-degree cuts, where it's predetermined. The athlete knows where they're going, they know how far they have to go, and then they go ahead and change directions, whether that be linear, lateral, even some kind of back pedal. Then what we want to do is we want to progress from there, where then the athlete, it's not predetermined. So the athlete, say for instance, is going to be running, or they're going to be laterally shuffling, and then for us to change directions, they're going to respond to some kind of stimulus, right? External. So that's going to be either me as a coach telling them to change, go, whatever it is, right? Or they have to actually process from an actual arm cue, where I'm standing in front of them and they only change directions and make that cut or make that movement based off the actual visual stimulus. And then finally, the last progression, which is usually typically the best, which is the final progression, is when their athlete is actually responding at a higher velocity, right? So meaning they're already moving at a higher velocity, and then they need to change directions off another athlete's movement. So this is where we could start to get a little bit more specific. Instead of me being a movable target and I'm just moving my arm, imagine the athlete then moving with them, and once they cut, that athlete has to make a response, and they're already moving at a higher velocity. So you can see where we go from the least complex to the most complex, and how these type of more basic cutting motions, lateral change of direction, linear change of direction, and then adding that reactionary component is going to be far greater than having your athlete continue to focus on getting better at an icky shuffle or a lateral shuffle or single leg, two leg. Yes, it's good for a warm up, time and place for everything. I'm not against any movement. I'm not against any resource or tool that you have. It's just having the right place for the right time. And I find far too many coaches spending a lot of time, hell, I did it. My entire middle school and high school life was consumed with every single workout was agility ladders before we got into our other stuff. What we find is we could far better serve these youth, high school, and elite level athletes by getting them to respond and getting them moving in space and changing directions in space that they're gonna face, that are gonna translate onto sport. So let's break down what I'm talking about a little bit further. So when it comes to agility, actually using the agility ladder, right? Let's say for instance, Ian, elite level athlete, let's say we wanted to use a warm up, something like that. Let's go basic, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You could do it lateral or linear. Just show them like a basic kind of movement. Boom, yeah, perfect. Good. Now, this is obviously just a simple warm up that they could be doing to elevate tissue temperature, maybe get the lower limb ready, being able to divert forces just a little bit. However, from agility, a true agility standpoint, they're only just getting better by doing that motion over and over again at that actual drill. Now, another way that we could use agility ladder is by simply warming up or elevating the lower limb. So let's say, let's do some pogos now. Let's hug this line right here. Let's go 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Isolate the foot and ankle, use no knee, and just go ahead and perform pogos where you're changing directions throughout. Yeah, just go like 1 in, 1 out, boom, focus there, and just really isolate that foot and ankle. Single leg, boom, yep, control. Now this is an instance where I'm gonna use the agility ladder, right? And I've gone from a basic linear pogo or a basic lateral pogo, and now I've actually done it where I'm actually diverting forces and really elevating the foot and ankle complex, right, through that inversion, eversion motion while also moving linear. So that's where it makes sense to be able to use agility ladders to overall eventually be able to enhance agility, but it's not how we actually train agility. Let's break down what I was talking about to actually progress agility. Now, I'm gonna keep this as basic as possible. Let's go like 3 or 4 yards apart. You know where you're going as far as a comb. First one we could do is let's keep it lateral. So say for instance, I have you stand right in front of me. Again, I'm gonna keep this as most basic as I possibly can. Let's say they're 10 seconds on the clock. I want you lateral shuffling between each cone, back and forth. Go ahead and touch the cone on the top of it. You know where the cone is. Let's go ahead and change directions. 10 seconds on clock. Yep, boom, good. Boom, good. Boom, good. Time. Now, after I've built the base of basically lateral change of direction, how do we then increase that? Let's go ahead and go to one where now you're going between the cones, but you only change direction on my go. Okay, nothing visual, just listen for my go. Lock in, you're going back and forth, you only change directions on my go. Ready, go, 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 go. Good. So you can see now we've added something where he needs to change direction and react based off of the auditory cue that he was hearing. Next progression we could go through is now same thing. Don't worry about the cones whatsoever. Now I want you purely going off my hands, okay? So I'm standing right here in a static spot, and you're just, when I go here or here, you're just gonna go in that direction. Ready, go. Boom, that's that one. And then the final one that we discussed that we can progress to is now when Ian might be moving off somebody else. So say for instance, we're playing a mirror drill. So imagine I'm here, go ahead and flip around. On my go, all you're gonna do is try to mirror my belly button the entire time. Ready, go. Then that's the final progression. Obviously this is just a lateral change of direction. We could do this in many different ways where we're doing a linear cut, 90 degrees, 45 degrees, whatever it is that athlete is going to face on the field, court, or in competition, we could start to mimic those movements, break them down, and enhance them so that the athlete can develop true agility. So I hope that helps, guys. Wanted to kind of clear this up because I know this is something that I commonly take a stance against. Again, nothing's bad, right? There's always time and place. Make sure you're doing that with your athletes. Talk to you guys next time.